come. Don't come.
If they push, I have a setup.
The fucking dog. There's gonna be one garage and the rest are site.
Oh, I'm dumb. 45.
They push it 100%.
One enemy remaining.
On site.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
Crazy.
Good ace.
What a flick.
So dudes, welcome back to the Gregor Gaming Experience. In this video, we'll be taking a look at Science Mommy Girlfriend Viper. My favorite agent Viper is a controller in Valorant, which means she is dedicated to smoking, whereas Omen and Astra are smoking that perp, Viper is smoking that green.
Brother, this guy stinks!
Viper's smokes differ considerably from her counterparts, and while she is correctly labeled a controller because she is capable of blocking sight lines of opponents, her kit isn't versatile enough to be used as a dedicated smoke character on maps that aren't as open.
Or quarter heavy.
On the flip, Viper can be your dedicated smoke on those maps like Breeze or Icebox. In most cases though, Viper is a supplementary pick, but she's a very good supplementary pick. It doesn't make her a worse character. She just has a slightly different job. The biggest disadvantage to playing Viper is that she can't smoke things as directly or efficiently as her counterparts. Here's a brief example.
Yeah, man, can you smoke heaven?
Oh, yeah, here. Cover going out.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Viper, can you smoke heaven?
Basically, Viper has to go out of her way to do smokes on specific angles that her peers can do with ease. Not to mention, she often can't cover as many. Now, she makes up for this with the ability to activate her smokes at any point during the round, and her smokes weaken opponents that walk through them. Viper's smokes consume a resource unique to her, a toxin supply of fuel that runs on a recharge. The fuel supply is indicated by a blue meter. Once that meter empties, Viper has to wait briefly to be able to activate the smoke again. Both her curtain, which is her primary ability, and her orb, which is one of her purchasable abilities, run off of that supply. I don't think Viper's smokes run on renewables, but something tells me that climate change isn't exactly at the top of the Valorant protocol's priority list. The whole impending war over raw materials that alter the space-time continuum might be taking precedent.
Okay? So we already knew that Dr. Sabine McCannon was in Rabat during the duality event with the Kingdom Corporation, which has been fucking over average people there even before they got there. And now Kingdom was working with one of the fugitives to get Radianite. So how the fuck?
Viper Slime Wall is her primary ability.
Green slime wall.
Available for one committed placement per round. You can't pick it up afterwards, but like I said earlier, you can activate it whenever and from wherever you like. On defense, this can mean a couple of things. A common strategy is to place the wall for a main take on either the B or A bomb site, then moving to cover mid. If the site player calls for a rotate, Viper can quickly rotate back and activate the wall to deny info for the attacking team. In this example, the defending Viper player has an orb in mid on split, with a default wall for an A take in case that happens. Here you can see the defending Viper player rotate out of mid as soon as there is a call for an A take, and then activating the wall promptly afterwards. This way, Viper can have influence over multiple parts of the map with just a button press. Additionally, Viper can pocket the wall for a bait, deploying it as the enemy's push starts. On attack, the wall is usually used for a site execute, slicing up the bomb site in a way that blocks vision from key power positions. One thing to avoid here usually is deploying the wall before the barrier phase ends, and especially if your team is trying to be sneaky beaky like by walking, because it's just going to telegraph your take. Cut off line of sight for a route that helps you get onto the site and establish control. You can see I didn't need that many shots to take down that jet. That's because of that poison debuff we talked about earlier. Aside from denying vision, walking through the wall will deploy a brief armor debuff that melts armor and applies health decay, a debuff that reduces health of a player that can eventually be regenerated. It creates a substantial amount of pressure this way and is very useful for delaying pushes by defenders or just making them into easy kills. Not only will they be peeking blind through your wall, they'll also be a more vulnerable target. Be mindful of the enemy's team comp. You should anticipate flashing out of that wall, because that's really the only effective counterplay they have if they get desperate. The decaying aspects of the wall apply to her green orb as well, a throwable smoke that lands at a location of her choosing with a quick yeet, wherein she can activate it at any time, and it runs on her fuel. If she runs out of fuel, blah 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 blah, you get the idea. Like the wall, she can activate it at any point in time, so she doesn't have to commit to hitting the deploy button, mousing over to the thing she wants to smoke, and clicking on it like other controllers. So yeah, there's more setup involved in throwing it, but once it's down, all she has to do is hit the button, which lets you keep your crosshair anywhere you want. On defense, this orb is obviously good for stalling the push of an enemy team and can help you maintain control over a particular lane. On attack, learning a couple of good lineups with this orb can do something very useful, which is take slack off of your already dedicated controller like an Omen. Go into a custom game with cheats on, and if you look at the minimap, you can actually practice your lineups a little bit. If they don't have to worry about smoking off the heaven angle, they can place another smoke in a different spot that adds more safe passageways for your execute. My favorite lineup is this heaven smoke for an A take on bind that I've been doing pretty much since the game came out. Now your Omen can smoke off lamps and truck or something else entirely.
Poison orb emitting.
The poison orb has two throwing motions. You can either throw it like a conventional grenade, or you can underhand it with right click. This can help you set up one ways, like this shower angle for bind. Now what you want to do is you want to stand on the edge of the box and line it up with this little line here to the left, and then it'll... Fuck. Edge of the box, and then aim at this this little line here, then right click it, and then it... So when you look at the line here, right click it, and then it... Bitch. Okay, either you or your teammate can play off of one-way angles with the orb and get some free kills. Try to get at least one lineup with your orb on each map. It'll give you a lot of flexibility. Viper's Molly is pretty well known for its usage in lineups as a post-plant denial tool, which is useful except when your team needs help on the site because they're in a 2v3 while you're doing geometry homework with your crosshair. Yes, this thing is very powerful to keep people from defusing the spike. Also, it lasts 6.5 seconds for a combined total of 2 uses at 13 seconds, over a third of the spike's 45-second detonation time. The problem is that the situations where you have 2 of these things available after a bomb plant should be somewhat limited, considering these snake bites are useful for clearing enemy power positions. They're mollies, that's what they're for. Viper's mollies apply a debuff to enemies that get struck by them, the vulnerable effect which cracks their armor and leaves them with half health, making them an easy kill. These things are great for clearing power positions. In fact, she can do so from more safety than your buddy Phoenix, because Phoenix's molly travels straight down after a certain length. Viper's does not, meaning she can use these things from really wherever she wants. This is important because Viper needs to stay alive to use the rest of her abilities. Post-plant lineups to keep the enemy from defusing the spike are great. What's also great are lineups for common holding spots that enable your entries to get onto the site and do their thing, or maybe even follow up and get frags off of. I mean this with the utmost amount of respect, but after witnessing the trifling behavior of many of Viper random and ranked matchmaking, I have to tell you, baiting and running away from the gunfighting to do your 500 IQ post-plant lineup doesn't make you Jimmy Neutron boy genius. It just makes you annoying. When you've established site control, and when it makes sense to do so, run off and get your post-plant snakebite in. Don't bait your team. There's a really cool gadget you can use to deny retakes called a gun. Please use it. The Viper's Pit, not to be confused with the stylish Pit Viper sunglasses, is Viper's very, very powerful ultimate that allows her to basically say, hey, you know that map control? I want that map control. I want it, so I'm going to go get it. As a famous poet once said, click the button to engulf the surrounding area in green slime that will give everyone who is a bad guy that walks into your domain melted armor and health decay. Did I mention that Viper can see opponents inside her smoke in red, the exact opposite of the color green? Yeah, it's kind of hard to take a gunfight with her in this ability. It basically provides a big fat zone of information denial that is very dangerous to venture into. Should Viper get killed while the ult is active, the ult will go down. If the Viper in question is running a gun that isn't suppressed, you'll also be able to see her tracers and guesstimate her location. So, if you were playing a Viper with a plan to ult during that round, I would probably suggest running a Phantom if you want to go rifle. Of course, the Judge is infamously paired with this ult for obvious reasons. It's a thrifty option for easy kills. But the ult is a huge commitment. It costs 8 points, and you can't leave it for too long or it will run out of fuel and dissipate. So what are some good situations to use it? Well, on attack, obviously post plants are pretty strong. But sometimes you can use this as a tool to hold flanks on an important piece of map control, denying mobility to the enemy. On defense, if the ult is popped right away, be prepared to get a shit ton of utility thrown at you to snuff you out. Look up what agents the enemy is bringing and adjust accordingly. Try to stick behind a piece of cover. SMGs, or any gun for that matter that has good movement accuracy, will probably give you just a slightly better fighting chance.
Watching it, Leo just being melted away.
Okay.
Now, for Viper herself, don't forget you can go outside the ult and play timing games with it. Viper's ult might cost a lot of points, but it's one of the few ults in the game that grants you instant value upon its activation. In short, find an hour or two out of your day to learn some Viper Molly lineups, some Orb lineups, watch some Professional Val to get an idea of what wall setups look like, and that's kind of it. Viper is a powerful operator in the right hands that's hard to play but adds a whole different layer to your team's strategy. You can bring her as a dedicated smoke on Icebox or Breeze. I've also seen people do a lot of different lineups on Fracture. but I don't know anything about fracture. So, one last tip. Don't forget Goga's words of advice. CC. I plant. I plant. Deuces.
One enemy remaining.
3 down.